The threat of being investigated by Ofcom, or indeed turning to Ofcom for support, is rather like turning to a toothless dog. But a toothless dog can still do damage. And now, after being found in breach of the rules 12 times, Ofcom has said that it's going to punish GBNews for its airing of People's Forum, the Prime Minister giving his views about the Conservative Party in the run-up to a general election. Now, what it says is that if this programme had been aired with a suitable programme advancing Labour views or a programme that questioned Conservative policy, then maybe it would be contextualised. It now has the option of a sanction which it says it's going to impose. This could be a financial penalty, this could be changes to the license, it could be a direction not to repeat the program, it could be a direction to broadcast a statement or a correction with Ofcom's findings. I suspect it will probably be one of these minor issues, like a statement, which has happened, of course, a few times in the past on the BBC and ITV. But, you know, we come down to the problem that Ofcom is a catch-all, a dog that's leaping around the place trying to catch a bone that's probably made of plastic or rubber, bouncing around the place. So when you write or you contact the Department of Digital Culture, Media and Sport, or whatever its acronym is now, that little bits of it have been hived up by Michelle Donnellan, you find that you're directed to Ofcom, and Ofcom then says, well, we can't deal with individual cases. And you say, well, it's not really an individual case, but by that point the letter has gone off, and that's the end of the matter. And I found, with my own concerns about the future of reality TV in this country and the problems of the origins and the continuation of reality TV and the malice of production, whether intended or simply experienced by those people who participate in these programs. And before the comments start flooding in, let me make it very clear: it's not the program itself which is the problem. Most of us who have somehow or other, by default in my case, or by mistake in my case, or by intention in many people's cases, not as many people's as you would think. The majority of reality TV is not cast from people who have written in asking to be on these programs. It's cast from producers scouting around and headhunting, often in the smaller model agencies. And part of the acceptance process is an NDA that you won't say how you were recruited. On the day after I'd been successful in the circle, we had a media session and interviews, and the first person to interview me asked me, why would somebody like you want to be on a reality TV show? And I said, well, I didn't. I was headhunted and asked if I would be on it about 2 weeks before the show started. And the PR person said, oh, you shouldn't have said that. Well, it was said. And the journalist couldn't believe his luck, I suspect. But having broken that code, because I wasn't told, I said afterwards, if you want me to tell lies, you have to tell me which lies to tell, which probably didn't endear me to the PR company that was running the affairs of the studio post production. So I don't have gripes with the studio during production. You do what you need to get the right footage on air and to promote the drama. I think there are issues with production, but I can't speak about them because I had a wonderful time in production. My concerns are about after production, when you suddenly realize that your agency has gone, and the continued manipulation and the continued pressure that comes from production, or those people who are delegated to look after you following production, never stops. Never stops. And even today, I often find myself looking over my shoulder. And this is because reality TV is made in the absence of managers and proper artistic representation, proper agents, and indeed any hope of union representation. I spoke to Equity again and again and again, and I spoke to the fellow who runs Equity, who was very dismissive. Um, and again, it becomes very ad hominem. They seem to think that I'm talking about me. I'm a member of Equity. I'm talking about ordinary people who go into these shows, and they're deeply exploited. They become the focus of a televisual evening, and they make a lot of money for production, and yet they themselves feel worn out, cast aside, whether they win or whether they lose this imposed game, which is basically a version of the Milgram experiment or the Stanford prison experiment. It's a version of the prisoner's dilemma, all game theory and very interesting academically. But when you have lots and lots of production assistants whispering in your ear, and the public thinks that what it sees is a form of reality, it's not. And that lingering experience. So I would like to see something like the American planned UCAN experiment, where there is an organization set up to manage, support, and specifically aid reality TV performers. So this is divorced from the production companies. I would like to see equally the ruling which was put out in 2019, which made the care of former participants in reality TV the responsibility of the production company that aired the program, that made the program. I think that needs to go, because that gives more control to these production companies. And Ofcom manages that nonsense. And it must be a nonsense, because the process that led to that rule and that decision was truncated. The committee hearings before the Digital Culture, Media and Sport were stopped by the calling of the general election in 2019, and they were never reconvened. So the only people who gave evidence were production staff. I think 4 participants, 4 contenders in Love Island and in Jeremy Kyle gave evidence. Where were the myriad number of participants who have concerns, who have suggestions, who have stories to tell? Where was their evidence? It was nowhere. It was never taken. So what you've got is a very biased and a very truncated understanding of reality TV, rubber stamped by the government and by this second-rate organisation, Ofcom. Second-rate organisation. Now, later in the year, I think I'm going to Manchester or Leeds or something to give talks about reality TV, and I would very much welcome you to come along. And there's a few more programs planned, I think, for the beginning of next year. I haven't given up on my crusade to ensure that people are not driven to suicide. You know, there's 50, upwards of 55, and maybe even 60 individuals who have killed themselves because of their links to reality TV. In any other business, that business would be gone. Not reality TV, because it brings in so much money for the television channels, because it's such cheap television, because it's so easy to make. Once you've got a formula, you keep repeating it. And we all know you see one reality TV program, then you see another, and you think, well, that's the same program. It's just a different subject matter, but it's the same program. Of course it is. And the producers go from program to program, and the assistants and the runners go from program to program, and they just do the same thing. They go from channel to channel because they are the experts. They are the people who can manage these fake experiments. It's all like a giant Truman Show or lots of little Truman shows, and it's presided over by the magisterium of the toothless dog, Ofcom. So if Ofcom is threatening GBNews, woof, 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 it means nothing.